Another week, another absolutely astonishing Vikings victory. Let's get right into it. We'll start with the Vikings and Niners, then we'll recap week 4's biggest moments, give out some picks, give out the bum of the week, and recap the extremely eventful week in sports. Normally on a week, Joey, where you went to the Niner game, we would start with that, but I think we got to start with one of the 2 undefeated teams left in the NFL, the Minnesota Vikings. The plan was to start with SF, but we can't. We basically absolutely annihilated the Packers for the first 29 minutes of the game. Now, granted, we got outscored 29-3 in the final 31 minutes of the game, but it was basically over at the half. Fantastic performance from that defense in the first half. Unbelievable offensive showing where Darnold was essentially perfect until that pick late in the third quarter and the sack early in the fourth quarter. It's really bizarre for me to say, but it's been, 16 quarters of Vikings football, and there's been 1 or 2 bad ones. The rest have all been perfect. Pretty freaking wild. This is what you must have felt like last year, where it's like, hey, my team's really freaking good, like all the time. It's pretty nice.
Yeah, who'd have thought? Why not start with Vikings? Holy crap. We went to the Niner game, so it wasn't to it, but kept seeing the score kept going up and up and up. And to be honest, when I saw Jordan Love was active, it didn't really do. I mean, obviously he's better than Malik Willis, but the Vikings defense and pass rush, or just say pressure in general, is coming from everywhere.
Right.
It's almost like it doesn't matter who's playing quarterback right now, and it's scary. And then Sam Darnold does not turn the ball over. I don't know if he had a turnover. I think he might have one yesterday.
He had a fumble, a strip sack, but I mean, it was just a complete whiff by our tight end.
Yeah. So in the grade on a curve book, 0. I mean, they look fantastic from what I've seen them. I mean, it makes me feel better about the Niners, quite frankly. Because I mean, score could have been way worse in the game, but compared to Texans, CJ Stroud, okay, maybe weren't too bad, but the Vikings, I mean, welcome to Sunday Fun Day when your team's good, because it's Sunday.
Welcome to the big time. We haven't been here in a while.
I don't mean that looking good. I mean, sometimes it does suck when your team's really good because there's so much pressure and you just feel it as a human being. We got nothing to do with the team, but it's better than.
It feels a little bit more like 2019 Niners than 2021, 22, 23 Niners.
Yeah,
you knew you had a wagon.
And maybe last year I enjoyed, because last year it did. I really even for saying your own team, I was like, this is the best team. This is what it feels like.
Yeah.
I never said that about 29. I was like, we could win it. We're good, but you're just oh no, are we really about to go from the number 2 pick to Super Bowl champs? I was like, but hey, came a bit close, but I mean, I just put my feels great, baby. You look at the schedule, look out.
That's the thing is
because Detroit, you can throw on you can move the ball on Detroit. And I don't know if Jared Goff, their offensive line is really good. Detroit's
running game is great.
You think they, it's weird. Both games will be played in a dome between the 2 teams.
Mm-hmm.
So nothing but I mean, the division is there. I mean,
so we got,
I thought about we had them 8-9, 9-8. I think 8-9.
We both had them 8-9. Yeah, I had them.
Was that just because of Sam Darnold? Was that it?
Yeah, because I told you before the season when McCarthy was healthy, I was like, I see a lot of potential.
Why weren't they this good with Kirk? How much has changed? I mean, Jefferson's been there. Addison, I would say Kirk was before he got hurt last year.
I would say the biggest difference between this team and all the teams going back to 2018 when Cousins came is the defense added essentially 7 veteran guys who know exactly what they're doing. There's no clueless corner out there to completely screw us play after play. There's no rookie linebacker who whiffs on critical tackles. Everyone on this team, with the exception of Dallas Turner, is a veteran who's been in the league multiple years, played at a high level. I mean, I'm looking at every single guy on this team, even Jerry Tillery, a guy who been cast off by a few teams, was a high pick. People thought he's a bust. I mean, he's been an absolute monster at defensive tackle this season. You're getting guys who, they've been on multiple teams. I look at like Blake Cashman, who 2 years ago was very close to being out of the league, has a career year under DeMeco Ryans in Houston, and is right now grading out as one of the 3 best linebackers in the NFL, only behind Fred Warner and one other. I can't remember who it was. But I mean, it's like it's a bunch of veterans that know this Flores system inside and out, and it's really wild to watch. Like, it's almost like the offense feeds off the defense, which is like the complete opposite of what it usually is for successful teams in 2024. I was just watching. We did 3 plays when we were ahead 21-0 on defense, where the first 2 plays we rushed 8. Again, when you're up 21, which is pretty shocking. Like, you would think, let's just keep them between the tackles and, make sure they don't score a quick touchdown here. No, he brought 8 back-to-back plays. And then on 3rd and 13 or whatever it was, he dropped 10 and sent a one-man rush after showing that it was going to be a blitz again. I mean, if nothing else, Flores is just confusing the living shit out of the other team, and that's most of the reason that we're 4-0 at this point. Obviously, Darnold's been amazing. He leads the league in touchdown passes. He's like 2nd in passer rating behind your boy Brock Purdy. Crazy, dude. There's just no other way to put it. I really can't believe it. This is what you felt like last year. I'm like, oh, this is pretty fun. Like, granted, I hope there's no injuries and nobody pulls the rug out from under us, but damn, this is fun.
Yeah, I mean, not to. Well, this isn't. I'm not even gonna say it's a rain on the parade, but it makes. I'm not thinking just like, what if he does play? I mean, like really well, like the whole like Sam Darnold. Not like in terms of team success, but like what do they do keeping him?
If we go like 9-8,
like,
10-7, and make the playoffs and lose in our first playoff game, you go to McCarthy next year. If you go like 13-4 and win the division,
well, now at the point, if you go 9-8, that's disappointment.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Is I was thinking about this the other day. If we're the 1 or 2 seed, there's no way you can start McCarthy next year. You have to think about giving Darnold a contract. It's pretty wild.
Well, my thinking is, well, then they might want to do it. Does he want to do it?
Well, he'll go wherever he can get the contract. He thought
I don't know. Well, I'm not sure. For a guy who has been on some crap organizations and like seen what that does. Mm-hmm. I think if he finds success here, finds a home, he might not like a super discount, but like he would want to stay. Right. The problem with wanting to stay for him is like no one really wants to have like the top pick like right behind you.
Right.
Like does a team like now if I was him I'd advise like F no, do not do it. But like do the Raiders throw a bunch of money at him? Exactly. Like don't do it. Like, don't go there saying, like, the
fact that we're having this conversation in week 4 is I cannot.
But like to defend him, and like we see it tonight with Geno Smith, like some of these guys really if they have like some sort of investment from the team, the coaching staff, like these guys aren't all just complete bums. Like
the moral of the story: get out of the Jets organization.
Yeah, but part of it too is like. I think we're starting to get to the point that some of these guys are going to get more appreciated. Mm-hmm. Like, there's just some we've fallen in love with like the next, Lamar Jackson, Mahomes. It's like, okay, there's one Mahomes, like you're probably not finding him. Like, that second, third tier quarterback, you can win a lot of games with them. Just don't pay him $65 million. Right. And so I think there's going to be more to that because like. What are the Jaguars getting? I say it like every time on this. What are the Jaguars getting? What is Miami getting? Yeah. Miami's a shit show right now.
Dallas.
Like, yeah. Dallas. Exactly. It's like, you could win a lot of games with Sam Darnold. What did he sign for?
Sam Darnold, like Baker Mayfield, Geno Smith. 14? Yeah. 1 year, $10 million can escalate, I think, up to 14 if he plays really well. It's insane. Baker Mayfield's deal is underpaid for what his production's been.
He signed like 3 for 100.
Yeah.
I think. So like 33. Yeah.
He's wildly outplaying a lot of guys with bigger contracts.
I mean, these guys. I think these guys are going to start to get more appreciated because it's some of these other guys are so hit or miss, and then if they get injured, it's just then you're really screwed.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, not about the team. Yeah, their defense it might be top 1 or 2.
I told you before the season they were going to be good. I didn't realize it would be this good. And it could be one of those things where more tape comes out and later in the season people figure Flores out. But as of right now, opposing quarterbacks, you're talking about Jordan Love, who led the league in touchdowns last year, CJ Stroud, who was one of the best rookie quarterbacks of all time last year, Brock Purdy, who looks like one of the 3 or 4 best quarterbacks in the NFL right now, and Daniel Jones. I mean, all 4 of them look completely lost against the Vikings defense, which is like, oh, but this is getting interesting. I'm trying to tamper down the high expectations.
It's Detroit this week, right?
No, Jets in London.
And that's right. Then Detroit.
Jets in London, bye week, home Detroit, and then at Rams, which I will be at. So if we go into that Rams game,
I was looking at their schedule, and I'm like, that's like other than a division, it's like
after the home Detroit. I mean, I'm just going to go through it. We're only going to do this once. In the coming weeks, I'm going to be tempted to do it. I'm not going to do it again because I feel like this is bad luck. So we go Jets in London, bye week, home Detroit. Then listen to this schedule: at Rams versus Indy, at Jacksonville, at Tennessee, at Chicago, versus Arizona, versus Atlanta, versus Chicago, at Seattle, Green Bay, Detroit. So last 3 games a little bit more challenging, but the stretch from week 8 to week
barring any injury, I mean, you're looking at 12-5 at least. At least.
Big exhale. Big inhale, big exhale. Before I get too hot and bothered here, let's talk about the Niners. You were at the game, your family season tickets. Yeah. Awesome that you got to go.
Yeah,
what were your impressions?
First off,
is the best quarterback in the NFL. Is that what you saw?
Yeah. Something like that. Also did see Macklin Celebrini there. Big fan, I guess. Pretty cool. I didn't actually see him, but heard he was there. First off, it was really cool to go with my dad. We've never been. Well, we went to a football game at Candlestick years ago, but we haven't been to one any sporting event really other than like once since like COVID. So that was really cool. But as for the game, I mean, it's one of those games where it's like you win big or you win convincing. I wouldn't say it was like a blowout, but like it was convincing. Everything looked as you would expect it to look, being a superior team. But do I feel any better? Maybe a bit. The pass rush did get there. Strip sack. I think they had 6 sacks total. One thing jumped high. The candidacy for Defensive Player of the Year, Fred Warner, it should be a country mile ahead of everybody.
Yes.
Hopefully he's healthy. That was the big negative is he missed the second half with an ankle injury, but MRI came back okay today. It's just an ankle sprain, not high ankle. Mm-hmm. He had a pick 6, and it's he's playing.
What a play!
He's playing. I don't know, all world. I don't know what to say.
You would say right now the Vikings are the best defense in the NFL, and Fred Warner is by far the best player on defense in the NFL. It's unbelievable.
I think he's. I was a big Patrick Willis guy. I never thought I'd like another linebacker as much or more than him, but damn, Fred Warner might be it because he's everything you want in a player, middle linebacker, team captain, stud.
Hall of Fame coming up.
And then the more interesting thing is the way they've changed their offense because a lot of, most of their offense way it's schemed, it's the short, intermediate, like quick stuff, the yak, yardage. But Brock Purdy leads the league in like least amount of yak yards. Like they are throwing, like they threw the ball down the field more than I've ever seen them throw it.
For a guy who doesn't have the prototypical cannon arm, his deep ball is just awesome.
It's a pretty ball. Like, it will not be mistaken for like, Rodgers deep ball or Anthony Richardson or any of these guys. But he throws a very catchable ball. And again, yesterday you saw the sneaky athleticism. Again, he's with his legs, he scrambles the pocket. He even said post game, like his 10-yard split is faster than Deebo Samuel's and Christian McCaffrey's. Like he's an athlete, and he if he's playing, like you said, he's playing like one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Do people say he is? Still not, but like he's playing better than he ever has.
Statistically, top 5. Eye test even better. That's the thing. Is like, given all the challenges with the Niners injuries and the way that this season has unfolded, just watching him isolate everything else, just watching his play, he right now should be in the top 5 in the MVP behind Allen, Mahomes, and of course Sam Darnold, and
it's crazy. Yeah, Sam Darnold's got more of a case than Mahomes.
Sam Darnold is 5th in the MVP odds right now on DraftKings. He's 11-1. Brock Purdy is 4th, and then
I haven't even thought of like.
Can you believe that?
I mean, yeah. If you're a quarterback on a good team, like immediate bump, like people, but yeah,
it was a game. It was a game you had to have.
Yeah, it gets a bit. I think, although they got hammered at home, they get Arizona this week at home. I thought they were maybe a little frisky team, but they got the doors blown off them by Jayden Daniels and the Commanders. But then after that, the schedule gets brutal. I think it's at Seattle, the Chiefs at home, Dallas, Seattle again, or no, Tampa, Seattle. I think they go like Green Bay, Buffalo, Miami doesn't look as tough, but welcome to the big leagues.
Yeah,
and it gets really difficult.
I had to have this one and have to have next week as well. Just must win.
Yeah, I mean, with Seattle's loss tonight, you win next week. I assume Seattle. I think they play the Giants next week.
Yeah,
I assume they beat them. So you're one game back, and then you play Seattle, and then it's a game that you could tie them, or Seattle could really get a huge. I mean, 2 games at that point with the schedule the Niners have would be big. But you got to win this week first.
Yeah,
and I saw today that Brady's doing the game, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, he wanted to come back home. Did you see? I mean, complete tangent. We'll get to some of the other stuff. But did you see Brady's response to Baker Mayfield's comments? Oh my God!
No, I heard about it, but I didn't.
So essentially, Baker Mayfield was talking about how he feels like he and some of the other folks in that locker room are bringing some joy to an organization that had been a little bit overly professional and maybe a little depressing to be around because of how much was demanded of everybody. And that was basically a shot at Brady, saying for 3 years.
I saw he said that. I don't know if there's video.
It was on a baseball players podcast. I can't even remember who the host was.
Okay. Like, to be honest, like, he's not wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Like, give him.
He's not wrong, but the point is Brady very obviously took offense to it. If you saw his comments, he basically goes, to me, a stressful situation is not winning Super Bowls. So I wanted to come in and rectify that. Like, and I was like, that's a fair point.
Like,
his other comments, by the way,
like Brady, we know.
Number one, I'm not running a daycare. He also said that. He said, number 2, if I want to have fun, I'll take my kids to Disneyland. I mean, just a complete evisceration of Mayfield. And then they showed them just dapping it up on the sideline after the game. I'm like, damn.
Who? Baker and
Brady and Baker, just like nothing happened. I'm like, Brady was clearly very mad.
Was he? I don't know. Like Brady, we know like who you are. Like I just some people like I don't know.
He gets that chip on his shoulder for anything. Even as a retired.
Like, let it go. Like,
you have every right.
Like Baker said that full well, knowing Brady could just be like, yeah, like I don't listen to people who don't win Super Bowls. Like we know, Tom, but like you can't tell me like it's like it's no different than having a head coach who's just on your ass 24. It's like they would say the same thing about Belichick, right? Yeah. like, oh, you won a lot. Yeah, well, like maybe it's they're just some guys just want to like enjoy their life. I don't know. Like, you know,
maybe Baker Mayfield likes to eat a strawberry or a mango.
Yeah, like, dude, like I would lose it if like you go out to a team dinner and Tom's like, I don't think you should be having that. Like your body mass, like it was too high last time. I want to just make sure it's good. I'd be like that is just nonstop. Like, I don't know. That would
It was just so funny because they showed a graphic on the Fox broadcast of Baker Mayfield's comments, and then they pan over to Burkhardt and Brady just kind of standing there. And you expect some sort of PC like, yeah, there's different approaches to how you run an NFL. No, he's just like, you could see it in his eyes. He was like, yeah, I mean, to me, a stressful job is one where you're not winning Super Bowls, but that's just me. I wasn't running a daycare down here in Tampa Bay. And Burkhardt said, wow, the competitive juice is still flowing. And you could tell Brady was like, oh, maybe did I go too far there? It was pretty funny. I did watch most of the football action on Red Zone yesterday, and I did catch that, and I was like, did I just see that right? Like, Mayfield's not going to love that, but that was pretty funny. Let's just do a quick recap of Week 4 before we get into our Week 5 preview, Jack and the Bum of the Week, and picks for Week 5. So, number one stories outside of our Vikings and Niners. The Ravens thrashed the Bills 35-10. Everybody came into that game saying, hey, the Bills are the number one threat to the Chiefs there in the AFC. I still think they're a really good team, but that gave me a lot of pause the way that just Derrick Henry just absolutely eviscerated that defense. So I think the Buffalo defense is something to keep an eye on there. We can talk a little bit about that game, but I just kind of wanted to talk about the AFC taking shape in general. To me, through 4 weeks, number one story, it's going to be the same old crew in the AFC as it always is. It's KC, Buffalo, Baltimore, and then Houston, who I think is kind of the new upstart. They're going to replace Cincinnati as that other contender. I think it's those 4 teams. They're going to win those 4 divisions, and I think we're going to have very similar playoffs to what we had last year. We may have the same Final Four in the AFC.
Yeah, although I don't know. The Chiefs are the wobbliest 4-0 team. Plus the Rashee Rice injury, which has it come out? ACL?
They said still hasn't been confirmed, but thought to be a torn ACL.
Either way, not good.
Hollywood Brown out for the year. Pacheco out for most of the year.
Yeah. No, but then again, I'm not going to bet against them. I expect them to be there. They're going to win the division by.
They're 4-0, but all 4 games have been one possession games that they could have lost, unlike the Vikings, which they're an undefeated team with a good track record. So.
Yeah. But this is probably Buffalo's best chance.
Mm-hmm.
I would think, at least not predicting future years, but in the past, because I think don't want to jinx it, but I think Kansas City might be a bit, injury might be war of attrition, but again, won't bet it. Won't bet against them when it comes to playoffs. But
heard a rumor today that with Miami's loss and Tua at least not coming back for another 3 weeks, any thought to a Tyreek back to Kansas City trade? Obviously, the money there would be a major problem, but that seems like an unbelievable fit.
If that was happened for Miami, that would be a signal they'd be blowing it up.
Yeah. I mean, I don't see why Miami would do it unless they could get like multiple firsts. But I mean, if you watch Miami play today, even if Tua comes back, they're going nowhere. I mean, I would rebuild around McDaniel. I wouldn't fire him. No way. But I would probably blow it up if I was Miami. But there's
a lot of people who think I saw today that some report out there that Devontae Adams has played his last game as a Raider. And
yeah, they said that was
the thing with the Instagram post was liked by Antonio Pierce.
I did not see that. I didn't see it.
I don't know if it's fake or not, but it was on the Bleacher Report. If it's fake, it got
I saw a lot of coverage about his pulling up lame, blowing.
Well, they said the business decision. He said the business decision, and then they asked Devontae post or he was on, I think, Kay Adams' show.
Yeah,
and she was like, do you think that was accurate? And he was talking like it wasn't on him. And Antonio Pierce might be like, no, that's about you, bud.
Yeah.
The whole thing with Devontae in Vegas has just been a colossal failure for everybody.
Yeah.
He could not have enjoyed it. The
Raiders stayed in Green Bay, he would have had a season with Jordan Love rather than Jimmy G and Minshew and freaking O'Connell.
I mean, I can't blame him. He's closer to home. Apparently, I know he obviously, he grew up here, grew up a Raider fan. That probably was pretty cool for him. If I was, any sort of professional athlete, like playing for my favorite team might be enticing if like everything was equal, but when you're having success somewhere and the other place is just walking dumpster fire most of the time. So they were saying like potentially him to the Chiefs, but I don't know.
There's no way that Vegas would make that trade. The one thing I heard was Dallas, and I was like, really? Like, why? You're not
Devontae to Dallas?
Yeah, I did see that. Like, I don't know. I just don't. Who
need other things? Well, no, they need another receiver. But
yeah, I don't know. Obviously, the best fit would be Kansas City, but there's no way the Raiders would do that.
I saw Amari Cooper to the Chiefs too.
That would make more sense because Cleveland ain't going anywhere. That was, oof, boy, did they look bad the last 2 weeks. I mean,
Raiders might just send the Chiefs Hunter Renfrow.
Yeah.
And you know what? He's one of those guys be like, oh, career over, and then goes to the Chiefs. Andy Reid's like, I could use this guy.
Yeah.
And then like all of a sudden he's like Julian Edelman.
What the Chiefs are right now is what the Patriots were like 2015, 2016, 2017, where it's like, remember that guy Chris Hogan? They're like, this guy
Stanford guy?
Yeah, they're like, he played professional lacrosse like a couple of years ago. Let's put him in at wide receiver. Everything will be fine. You're like, how does this keep happening? They're like, the guy wasn't even trying to play in the NFL, and Belichick was like, we can make him our wide receiver 3. You're like, God. Classic Chiefs, 4-0, total mirage, but I would not be surprised to see them go 14-3 or something like that with the way things are going. They get a Monday night game at home against New Orleans next week. Dude, we called it in our preview that Washington's actually going to be pretty good. In no way did we think they were going to be this good. We took Washington over 6.5 as one of our best bets in the preseason for win total. They might go over that 9 weeks in because their schedule is incredibly easy. And man, have they looked good the last 2 weeks. They've punted once in the last 3 weeks. Now, I saw a stat.
Maybe Jayden Daniels should have been the guy who tweeted out, not going to be much punting this year.
And that would be completely accurate. Caleb, there's been plenty of punting over there. Holy crap, man. Like, I think he looks better now as a rookie than, I mean, he's right there with CJ Stroud's rookie year, but I'm trying to think of similar quarterbacks have been this good right out of the gate. Cam Newton was amazing, like week 1 and 2, I think, of his rookie year. He threw for 300 yards and ran for a bunch. Like, this is getting pretty crazy here with Washington. I don't know how you rank the NFC teams right now because Washington is good. It's clear Dallas and Philadelphia are mediocre. It's very clear that the Vikings and Lions are good. The Packers, when healthy, are pretty good. The Bears stink. Seahawks are pretty good. Niners are good but banged up. You know, Tampa Bay's pretty good. The Saints have been unlucky the last 2 weeks, but they are 2-2. Just looking around the NFC, like, how the hell do you rank this hodgepodge right now? Because I've seen people say Washington number 2 or 3 seed in the NFC.
I think I'll say it right now. I think they're going to win the division.
I think so too. And I Philadelphia's defense was awful yesterday. Dallas
is
unconvincing.
What I thought they were. They're tire fire.
And Dallas's win against the Giants completely unconvincing. Just a terrible game on Thursday Night Football.
Terrible game that just set a record for viewership.
Classic NFL. The record for most game, yeah.
I don't know. I mean, the only thing I would be confident in, I'd be putting Minnesota 1.
See, I was going to say Detroit 1, Vikings 2, and then after that, it's
Detroit hasn't looked that impressive. I mean, today they were.
Detroit's defense is a problem.
They gave up a bunch.
Yeah.
To Seattle, and granted, as you can see, I really like Mike McDonald. I thought they good start, but like as anyone who knows football, they haven't played much of anything opponent-wise. And they saw Detroit and were given Jared could not have been better.
Evan was texting me throughout that game saying, obviously it's a problem that both defensive tackles for the Seahawks, Leonard Williams and Byron Murphy, were out. Like, yes, that's a gigantic problem. But he's like, the bigger problem is the secondary sucks. Like, we've spent like top 5 picks on multiple guys in the secondary in the last few years.
I really liked Witherspoon. He had a tough day today.
Oh, man. They got absolutely torched. So that's another thing. It's like Seattle's 3-1, and you want to say, oh, well,
I said that about Mike McDonald because I'm like, your defensive guy, at least the defense, like your defense looks the same, if not, like, again, said it before here, just run 15, 20 across the middle, run and just there's no one. There's no one there.
That's what makes it so hard, though. Is
Minnesota, I'd have Minnesota. I'd like to see. It's like I'd feel so much different about the Niners. They just finished that Rams game off.
Yeah,
because it'd be 3-1 with like just a tough to Minnesota, who's like clearly super hot. It's like okay, but instead you're 2-2 and you get a tough schedule. Washington too. I saw who they've played. Bottom 10 defenses. I mean, I was high on Jayden Daniels.
Defense bad.
Yeah, I was high on Jayden Daniels. Like I think he's really good, but I'd like to
Arizona
see him against somebody.
Yeah,
like let's see, like Kingsbury too. Like he usually gets off hot. Like second half, at least as a head coach, people kind of figure him out. But I'm not as out on Dallas as I am Philly. Just forget.
Yeah.
NFC South, I think Tampa's decent. Although the loss to Denver and them shellacking Philly doesn't. I don't think is that impressive. I think the North is really good.
Yeah.
I might have Detroit too right now behind Minnesota. I think the Packers are really good too.
Yeah.
But
the point is the AFC seems to be basically shaping up the way everyone expected, and the NFC is completely topsy-turvy, at least until the Niners and Lions go on big win streaks. So pretty crazy through 4 weeks that we're like, should the Vikings be the 1 or the 2 seed in your opinion? And we're like,
you look at the schedule. I mean, not to
oof, pretty nuts.
Here's the thing, right? Who do you play in the NFC? Well, no, you play the NFC West. It's like who's your other games?
Yeah, let's take a look.
I mean, so it must be
Atlanta. So Kirk comes back to Minnesota.
Yeah, so Tampa played, right? Tampa played Detroit and beat Detroit.
Yeah.
So you played Atlanta instead of Tampa, and then it must be the East. Do you play Washington? No, you don't.
We play. Who do we play? Oh, it was the Giants.
The Giants.
We already beat them. Yeah.
So, does Detroit and Green Bay play? Well, Detroit would play Dallas.
Yeah, and Green Bay already played Philly and lost that one.
Oh, playing Philly.
Yeah,
I mean, Washington plays Chicago.
Yeah.
Oh, good luck. That'll be good.
Yeah, that's going to be the battle of 1 versus 2 in the draft. I wonder who's going to win that one. Let's take a look at Week 5 before we give your Jack and the Bum of the Week. Some marquee games, the Thursday night games, Tampa Bay at Atlanta. That's going to go a long way to deciding the NFC South champ. Atlanta, I feel like they lost the games they should have won, and they won the games they should have lost. They didn't score any offensive touchdowns yesterday, and somehow still put up 26 points with a muffed punt touchdown, a pick 6. They're just kind of fraudulent in getting there, but I think that's a pretty decent spot for them being at home while Tampa's just coming off this gigantic high of rolling over Philly. The game of the week next week for me is Baltimore at Cincinnati. Both of those teams with a loss in that game will feel like an absolute kick in the balls. Like, I want to pick Baltimore in that game because I think they're so much better than Cincinnati, but that's the one. Yes, there's Buffalo at Houston, which is a battle of 3-1s. That's a great game. But this Baltimore-Cincy game, I'm like, that might decide, who's going to win the AFC North, because I just think Pittsburgh is going to fade so bad after what we saw on Sunday with them. Sunday Night Football, Dallas at Pittsburgh will be a good one. I think I want to bet Dallas there, given the way that the line is moving. It looks like it's going to get to Dallas +3. I really thought Dallas would be favored, given that, Pittsburgh just cannot move the ball. Yes, their defense is good. They also just gave up 27 to Anthony Richardson and 40-year-old Joe Flacco. So some interesting games next week. Let's talk about the Niners first. They host the Cardinals. They're favored by 7.5. This game's going to give us a great idea of how the defense looks under Sorensen. The Cardinals really are just an offense. They have no defense whatsoever. As you go into that game, what are you looking for from the Niners as you head into the tough part of your schedule?
Yeah, we should be able to put up points against Arizona. Always when you're playing Arizona and Kyler is the pass rush, and how disciplined the pass rush has to be, because obviously if you don't contain him, he's gone. And we just haven't been as consistent front four, especially as much as we have in the past, as much as they design their defense to do it. I mean, the defense is mostly based on being able to rush with four guys.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe Sunday we blitzed more than we have in a long, long time. So I don't know if that's because we played the Patriots or because we need to, because the front four hasn't been getting there. But yeah, they. I was higher on Arizona than probably the record indicated, but after last week, yeah, I fully expect us to put up some points, and yeah, just don't let Kyler kill you, and I think you should be okay. But yeah,
would love to see them hold Arizona under like 20 points, under 17 points. That would be something that would make.
Yeah, I'm not going to feel bad. I'm not going to feel great winning this game 34-30.
Yeah. You got to see something from the defense, knowing that the tough part of your schedule is coming. Given, I mean, you gave up a few to New England. The Vikings probably could have scored more on you than they ended up scoring. The Rams thing was just a once in a lifetime debacle in the fourth quarter. You got to see where you are heading into that rough part of your schedule. And then the Vikings trip to London one last time to pummel Aaron Rodgers. We've been doing it for years. He usually wins in the end, but it's been one of my favorite joys in NFL football to watch the Vikings just pummel Aaron Rodgers. I going back to the game where Favre made his return to Lambeau, and I believe we sacked Rodgers 11 times in that game. Like, this has been one of my great joys, and I get to see it one more time before Rodgers retires. It's the well-coached Vikings against the dysfunctional Jets. You got Saleh, Rodgers, Hall, Wilson, and Hackett all on edge, all just looking confounded on the sideline, angry with each other, nips at each other in the post-game press conference between Saleh and Rodgers. Nathaniel Hackett taking so much shit for his horrible game plan against Denver. Vikings are only favored by 2.5. I really like us in that spot. I know it's in London. I know it's one of those games that it's hard to prepare for with a 11-hour flight or whatever, but God, that Jets team just looks so dysfunctional. Other than when they played the Patriots, it's been just really, really bad.
Who'd have saw that coming? Like
Joey's basking in the glory of his preseason.
I'm not gonna lie. I feel really good about that because like all these people, Jets Super Bowl. I'm like, what? I just did not get it. And like here we are, week 4, and just you see it during the game, post game. Saleh and Rodgers clearly hate each other.
Bo Nix at the half had -7 yards, and they lost. How?
I don't know. He finished like 12 of 25 or something. I think I saw 60 yards.
Yeah,
and won.
Yeah,
beat Aaron Rodgers. No, I mean the Jets are.
And Rodgers
the Jets are who we thought they were
at the end of that game too.
The Jets. I mean, yeah, it's in London.
One of my favorite.
Could be played in Minneapolis. Could be played in New York. Could be played in London. Could be played on Mars. I think Minnesota hammers the Jets.
Oh, I can't wait.
I mean, I think this is like 37-10.
Oh God, would that be nice? Especially, I'm going to set my alarm for 6:30 a.m. out here on the West Coast to watch that game. If I get up, I expect Rodgers to get the shit kicked out of him. So come through for me, Van Ginkel and Grenard and all those guys on the defensive line. Let's get them one more time. Let's head over to Joey's Jack and the Bum of the Week. Some interesting candidates. I feel like we always have the same ones. It's like Panthers and Jaguars and Trevor Lawrence and Bryce Young. Let's shake it up this week. Let's go a little different. I got some odd candidates for you here. Number 1, Nathaniel Hackett. Horrendous game plan against Denver. You can blame the weather. You can blame having a 41-year-old quarterback. That was just absolutely awful. I get Patrick Surtain is very good and shut down Garrett Wilson. How you don't find a way to score 12 points against that defense is beyond me. Horrendous from Nathaniel Hackett. The Bills have to be on there, giving up 35, getting absolutely gashed by old man Derrick Henry on Sunday Night Football and kind of taking a big step back in their season. I wanted to put LaFleur on there. I don't know if you caught the end of the first half in the Vikings-Packers game, but they were so essentially there was a muffed punt by the Vikings, which is the only reason the Packers got the 7 points. Our guy, Jalen Naylor, is backing up. It hits off his helmet, goes back. The Packers pick it up, and they're at the 1-yard line with like 20 seconds left in the first half. The First play happens, and I think we stuffed somebody, and they didn't call a penalty. LaFleur goes absolutely nuts, throws his headset, starts screaming, runs onto the field. He gets called for a 15-yard unsportsmanlike. They, drag him off the field. He's still hopping mad. I thought he was going to screw them out of 7 points, but then there was a 15-yard touchdown on the next play. But for a team down 28-0, causing your team to go from a 1st and goal at the 1 to a 1st and goal at the 16 with a unsportsmanlike on the head coach, bad look for a leader. No wonder they didn't win that game. And then the Seahawks D has to be on there. They gave up a perfect game to Jared Goff, 18 of 18 for 292 and 2 touchdowns. The ball did not touch the ground once. You got to be better than that. Can't do it. But you're going with a very deserving bum of the week.
Yeah, that's I give Seattle a break because it's just blip on the radar. Plus, it wasn't like 35 or 35. That would be incredible, but not good. The Joey's Jack and the bum of the week. Philadelphia Eagles. You said just the defense. I'm going the whole team. Let's just start with the top. Nick Sirianni is beyond overmatched at his job. Jalen Hurts is beyond overrated. We keep talking about how we could fix him. Maybe he doesn't need fixing. He just is what he is, which is a turnover machine. I think I saw they were down after the first quarter, had 0 yards of offense.
Yeah.
Their defense is giving up anything and everything the opposing offense wants. Tampa, who played Denver last week at home, lost, struggled, and play Philly. Well, good medicine because
Philly's the get-right team.
Yeah, and again, just like the Jets with the vibes are bad, really bad with Philly. And I'm not shocked Kellen Moore hasn't been able to fix it. Like, obviously AJ Brown.
Fangio really not fixing anything.
No, I mean, it's got to be tough when you draft 2 corners, like your first 2 picks, and it's not any better. No, I got my players mixed. I was about to say, oh, they're missing the Reddick, but no, he's the Jets problem. He's the those 2 teams, they're just, we'll see if the Niners can continue to right the ship. It's just an off season of just garbage, trickling into the first quarter of the season. But the Jets and Philly have not been able to stop it.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're in danger of finishing, like, I'm not gonna say 4th in the division, but with the Giants, but
a distant 3rd.
Stock down.
Yeah. For a team that was expected to go 11-6, their over/under was set at 10.5. Like, we did not see that all offseason. We're like, Sirianni is lame duck status as much as you can possibly be, him and McCarthy. But really, Sirianni just has completely lost the team and the Philly fans. Like, they hate that guy. They are ready to move on now. But yes, Barkley has been great, other than his drop that cost him the game in week 2. But Barkley's been great. But you look at
he won them the next game.
Yeah. All of the problems with Philly are things that we saw at the end of last year.
The player the Giants didn't want is like your best player.
Yeah. What does that say about a team that was supposed to be a quote-unquote Super Bowl contender? That's a very valid Jack in the Bum of the Week because, like you said, Tampa against Denver looked so just out of whack. And by the way, like maybe that Denver defense is pretty good now that we've seen a few weeks of it in a row. But jeez, just completely torched. At one point, it was 24-0 Tampa, and Philadelphia had something like
crazy.
7 yards.
It's crazy what she's making you think of like New Orleans because they were running up and down on everybody, played Philly, and then they struggled to move the ball and lost. I don't know.
After the first 2 weeks, I was like, man, did I get the New Orleans pick wrong? Now I'm like, I feel okay. I think we're going to be okay.
No, you mean just like Philly? Cousins at the end. Like, I know Saquon dropped the ball, but like that last drive was like
carved boop, boop, boop,
yeah. Like no one's even near him. No one's covering receivers. No one's tackling.
Sirianni, Fangio, that whole brain trust there. it's you want to talk about a blowout.
It's really just Sirianni because they've had like 7 coordinators in the last 3 years. Like both, I feel like it's just even when they've been good. I mean, well, they were good. They were hired away, fine,
right?
And Matt Patricia was like an advisor last year.
Yeah, you can only blame Patricia so much. I mean, he's awful, but yeah, you brought in Fangio, an incredibly accomplished defensive coordinator. You brought in Kellen Moore, who the last 2 seasons as an offensive coordinator for him, his team scored the most points. So theoretically, these are big upgrades. I haven't seen it on the field. Like Hurts looks awful, and there's no way you're going to blame that on injuries or he doesn't have the cast and crew around him. Like, yes, A.J. Brown is hurt, but he got Saquon Barkley. Like, offensive line is still quite good. What the hell's going on over there, Philly? Like, we called it before the season that they were going to go under their total. We didn't think they were going to be this level of bad this fast. So there it is, Philly. Joey's jacking the ball.
They're still only 2-2.
They're only a game out, but I test
NFC is a cluster.
Yeah. The NFC is just 4 weeks from now when we're in week 8, we've played 4 more games. It's just going to be
when Minnesota's 8-0.
Yeah, when we're 8-0 heading into our game against Arizona, yeah, we'll be like, man, how does this NFC shake out?
Like, who are we playing in the divisional round after we have a bye?
I like that. Let's go to the You Like That picks of the week. We finally had a winning week last week. We got there with our 3 winning picks. Atlanta -1.5. What a sweat that was. Baltimore -2, which was easy. And then Seattle, Detroit over, which was super easy. We lost with Green Bay because the Vikings are a wagon. And we lost with the Rams because Caleb Williams decided to complete some forward passes. This week, we got 5 more picks for you. Again, I'm going simple here. I just looked at the lines right before the podcast. And I wrote down everything that jumped out to me, and these are the 5 that jumped out to me. Just first glance, first impression, not thinking too much about it. Vikings -2.5 versus the Jets. You and I both love that one. It's in London. I think before the season, the Jets would have been 3.5 to 6-point favorites in this game. I don't give a shit. The Vikings are so much better than the Jets at all facets. Washington -3 against Cleveland at home. Washington is better than Cleveland. Like, Cleveland is as dysfunctional as it gets right now. The team hates their quarterback. Apparently, Nick Chubb may come back this week, and that's a big moral boost for the team. But, man, that seems like a little quick for him to be coming back in week 5. And I love Washington's offense with Kingsbury right now. He's always so good at the start of the season. Baltimore -1 at Cincinnati. Cincy, sure, you beat Carolina on the road. Good for you. Like, I really don't think this is first of all, Cincinnati's defense is awful. There's just no way around that. And Burrow has looked really good the last 2 weeks against 2 atrocious defenses. I think he's going to struggle a little bit against Baltimore. I like the more seasoned coach, the more veteran team here. Give me Baltimore at Cincinnati. Houston at home against Buffalo is not only not favored, I mean, they're +1 after that performance by Buffalo. You would have expected Buffalo at Houston. You would have expected Houston to be favored, right?
Yeah. Before the season and after last week, where Buffalo got housed by Baltimore, and Houston. Yeah. It's close. I was mostly interested to does Josh Allen and Diggs do they bro hug?
Jersey swap?
Yeah, jersey swap. I can see Josh wanting to do a jersey swap and be like, "Hey, Stephon, you suck."
Yeah, and
I was always more of a fan of Shakir.
Yeah, Cole Beasley is my favorite target of all time. Yeah. I like that you were getting points at home. I also like that Dallas is getting points against Pittsburgh. That line just moved to Dallas +3. So Dallas +3 at Pittsburgh on Sunday Night Football. I love that. Like, if you watch the Pittsburgh game last week, they made Joe Flacco look like that Joe Flacco version.
Every time I watch Joe Flacco, he looks really good. He looks better than a lot of guys.
And by the way,
Deshaun Watson.
By the way, Anthony Richardson gets hurt. Joe Flacco comes in. I'm pretty sure people are like more confident in the Colts at that point. Am I wrong? I don't know.
Oh, absolutely not. No.
Savvy veteran. 39 years old. Did you see Flacco's quote after the game? So they interview him and they go, does this make you feel old, coming out here and still playing with players half your age? He goes, Anthony Richardson told me his mom is younger than me. I was like, what? That's an odd thing to say in the
I'd be
postgame
like, I don't
interview.
know how to respond to that.
Yeah, I'd be like, I don't know how to respond to that, but that's wow. Joe Flacco looked good. He made that Pittsburgh defense look not so good after 3 amazing weeks to start the season. I think the time to fade Pittsburgh is starting now. By the way, Russell Wilson might be back, which I don't know if that's a good thing at all.
Either way, he's in pads.
I texted you that.
Yeah, I saw you did. I saw it. I noticed. I don't know if we talked about it, but I noticed it last week. I'm like, Russ, I've hated you most of my football fandom, deservedly so. You wrecked a lot of games. And then I really did. I was kind of coming around. I was like, you know what? I'm like, this guy's just getting like just beaten down completely.
Mm-hmm.
And I, like human in me, it felt bad. I was like, come on, Russ, like let's go. Like now you're in another conference. I don't care. Like let's ride. Broncos country. Let's ride.
Mm-hmm.
Steel City. Let's whatever we do in Pittsburgh.
Smelt iron. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's whatever. The pad thing. It really bothers me. I like it.
It just does.
It just like, and I'm not even a player team.
Why are you in full pads when you're inactive? You're ineligible to play.
If it was any other person, I'd be like, this is just for show. Like what? But like with him, it's so odd. Like
headset on, standing right next to Mike Tomlin.
Like Brady, right? Brady, everything about football dialed in. Like, eat right, work out, all this stuff. Even in the TB12 method, I don't think it's like wear pads when you're sleeping or inactive. I keep going back to this. Like his first game ever as a Bronco, he's back in Seattle, and they had him mic'd up or whatever on the sideline. He's like yelling and screaming at like guys talking to their precision coaches on the bench, like let them know, run or pass, let them know. I'd be like, Russ, no one cares. Like, I mean, I was gonna say he started rubbing people the wrong way like week 1, but it might have just started off. Didn't I see too Denver? He wore his own jersey like to training camp. Like he got out of his like what looks like a few $100,000 car, like, and he's wearing a 3 like Broncos jersey, like. But the pad thing is just like
it's so beyond the pale.
Like people made fun of like Mike Nolan for wearing a suit.
Yeah,
this is like 100 times dumber.
Oh, I when I saw that, I texted you. I texted my brother. I was like,
what does your brother say? What does your brother say?
He is full Russell Wilson got job.
So he probably responded to the text in pads.
Yeah. He was like, I'm in pads too. Our game starts at 1 p.m. No, it's just
I'm gonna see Evan taking care of a patient. He's gonna be in pads. Come on, Evan.
Ready to run through a wall for this patient right now. Yeah. I mean,
can someone ask him that? Can someone ask him that?
Yeah.
Someone in the media.
Russell,
what's your deal?
What is your thought process before the game? Everybody's suiting up to go out there.
And frame it in a way like he would like kind of like get tickled by. Yeah. Like, hey Russ, we know you're dedicated to the craft. Like, and that's about being ready from sun up to sundown with the high knees and everything. Like, how does wearing pads make you a better football player on Sundays?
When you're inactive.
Yeah.
I mean, all of that is to say Pittsburgh's got some odd stuff going on there, and I like Dallas.
Like Justin Fields just has to not like bet against his own team, and like I feel like his teammates like him.
Oh yeah, he had 2 rushing touchdowns in that game, and both ones where he goes in, the team just mobs him. They're like, "Yeah, way to go!" You're like, horrendous vibes there with the possible.
Stop it, Russ. You don't listen to this. You do not listen to this. But like Russ, just
cool it.
Just I don't know what the word is. Like chill out. Is it cool it? Is it just like what is? I don't know. I don't know. Like,
talk to somebody. Have a consultant be like, dude, do not wear pads on the sideline for a game that you're ineligible to play in. Like what are we doing?
Him too. He's got his whole team 3. He's got to like how is someone not been like Russ? Hey, brother.
Let's go with the hoodie today.
Like, yeah, let's
go with the Gatorade towel over the shoulders. classic sideline look for a guy who's not going to play. What are we doing?
Just complete.
That's the you like that picks of the week. We're trying to get back on track. We have had one winning week in week 4. We're going to have another one here in week 5. Vikings -2.5 in London against the Jets. Washington -3 at home against Cleveland. Baltimore -1 at Cincinnati. Houston +1 at home against Buffalo. And then Dallas +3 on Sunday Night Football at Pittsburgh. Joey, it's time for your Feels Great Baby. Feels Great Baby, your wildest take you feel best about currently. I'm obviously stumbling over words because I see what it is, and I'm just, oh boy.
Yeah, I've said it. I mean, I think Minnesota's got not even a sneaky shot. It might be a clear shot. It might be the kill shot to the 1 seed in the NFC. And that'd be a tough building to go through for a couple games in the Super Bowl. Yeah, I mean, look at the schedule. We did the schedule. I mean, other than the division games against Detroit and Green Bay, I mean, there's not much.
We already won at Green Bay, which is usually the toughest game on our schedule every year. We already won at home against San Francisco and Houston, which were probably our 2 toughest home games of the year. Maybe Detroit's right up there, but holy moly. Like, I think before the season, I said our first 7 games were the gauntlet, and then after that, it got easier. Well, we're 4-0, so I get what you're saying. Like, if we get through this stretch, oh my goodness. So Jets in London, home Detroit, at Rams. So really, after the Detroit game, at Rams, completely banged up, versus
Maybe
Indianapolis.
they're healthier by then, but I don't know.
And then at Jacksonville, awful. At Tennessee, awful. At Chicago, really not impressed. Versus Arizona, horrible defense. Versus Atlanta, maybe they're pretty good, but I mean, we should win that one. Versus Chicago on Monday Night Football, got to win that one. At Seattle, sure, close game, maybe we lose that one. Home Green Bay, the fans will, week 17, we will be beyond nuts for that game.
I mean, you could potentially lose Seattle or Green Bay, but like potentially lose is also potentially win.
Here's the thing. If we beat the Jets as expected, I will be ecstatic. If we beat the Jets and then have the bye week and then beat Detroit, all bets are off, man. Like, fucking 15-2 is on the table if that happens.
I mean, if games aren't played, then you go by just reading the paper. Yeah, I mean, it's where are the 2 losses coming from?
I mean, I know there's going to be growing pains with a lot of these guys being new players, and Darnold will have that game with 4 picks at some point here. But based on what we've seen so far, this is not that crazy of a take. I can't believe I'm saying
that. No. Nope.
I just can't believe it. I had a friend, Erik, who I used to work with at Safeway, who texted me, "Hey, I'm going to the game." Like, you're going to Lambeau? I'm like, awesome, man. Have fun. Fucking 28-0. And he's like, this is the greatest day of my life. I'm like,
hold on. Do you have a friend named Erik who also worked at Safeway, who's also a Vikings fan?
I am also an A's fan. What are the odds of that? Yeah, we were in a fantasy football league together for a little while, but he's like, and he does listen to the podcast. Met him through work? So tip of the cap to you, Erik.
You met him through work?
Yeah. What are the odds of that?
What the hell? That's like,
it's a tough life being a guy named Erik and liking the Vikings and A's. It's a fucking brutal one, but we push through. I can't believe that we could possibly go like 13-4 this season or better. It's just unfathomable coming into the year. This is wild. Very 2019 Niners vibes. Very, it's an upstart team. It's not a powerhouse. It's a team that had no expectations going into the season, which is often the most fun. Like,
yes.
Speaking as an A's fan, my favorite teams are 2012, 2018, the teams expected to lose 100 games that made the playoffs. But the Vikings, it's like, yeah, the 98 team, which was expected to be pretty good. The 2000 team expected to be pretty good. The Favre team expected to be pretty good. The 2017 Vikings, Bridgewater tears his ACL. We're expected to go like 6-10. We went 13-3. Like, those are the teams where you're like, this makes sports fun. The Sharks missed the playoffs for the first time in 15 years. you're like, oh, they're finally going to start to suck. No, they go to the Stanley Cup Finals that year. You're like, oh, I love sports.
The Sharks had a lot of the years where they were supposed to be good, and they were until April.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes May.
Yeah, sometimes May.
One time June.
Yeah, but even like you said, that was the one where it was like, I don't want to say take. I mean, they were still be okay, but yeah, out of all the years to go that far, that was not the expected one. But yeah, I mean,
well, that's what Joel Ward does for a franchise.
Yeah, he was good. He was good. Need those guys, you know?
Glue guys. Just put sticks on pucks in the offensive zone.
Yeah. No, I mean, I expect the Vikings. I'm not going to say I expect's a big word, but yeah, I mean,
at this point, anything worse than
the only thing they can triple. I feel like Minnesota's either going to be the 1 or the 5 seed.
Right, because Detroit is so good. It's like we're not going to be the 3. Like the East winner is going to be the 3 and the South winner is going to be the 4 or vice versa. I feel like that's a given. And the North and West are going to be the 1 and 2. I'm almost certain of that. How about Vikings 1, Niners 2? Vikings Niners NFC Championship in Minnesota. Do we bring the pod on the road for that? The answer is yes.
No chance. No, I'm not going to the Niners playoff game in Minnesota. They've lost for like a million straight games. No, thank you. No part of that seems fun.
We'll talk about it.
Outside chance if that happened, if the Sharks are like in Minnesota, might get something out of it. But
yeah, they going to face the Minnesota Wild. You can go see Macklin Celebrini. Okay, there's Joey's wildest take of the week. Vikings path to the 1 seed.
This I just got it too. Yeah, it is real. That Antonio Pierce thing.
Really?
Yeah, liked it.
Devontae Adams, sneaky Jack in the bum of the week, if that's the case.
But what did he do?
Well, I mean, he faked a hamstring injury to get out of playing this week.
Oh, you're saying that part. You're saying that part. Okay.
Yeah. Antonio Pierce, he's a gimmick. He's not going to be a good NFL coach, but I mean, they're 2-2 and he gets them to play hard. He questioned their manhood last week and they responded with
it's like week 3 you're questioning manhood business.
Yeah.
A bold move.
Not a very good tactical coach, but he knows how to get people angry, so I'll give him that. But okay, let's close the pod just with a 5-minute discussion here because we got to get out of Dodge. I went to the A's game on Thursday.
Yeah. I'm interested to hear about it.
So I'm going to give you kind of my full recap of the day. It started with I got to the airport down here in Burbank early. I get on a plane. We're about to push back. I'm deep into conversation with this woman next to me who was going up for the game also, but she worked for ESPN. She was part of the crew that was going to do the podcast series called Death of a Sports Town about Oakland. And this was
part of a famous person?
The host is Tim Cowan or whatever. He's their head baseball writer. And then there's a second host. I can't remember his name.
Did you see Buster Olney?
I did not, but this woman was basically the producer of all of their sports podcasts centering around like documentary style. So this is part 5.
Were you like, I have a wife. She'd like to be in the business.
I'm like, I have a podcast too. It's listened.
Oh yeah,
it's listened to by 7 people. Yeah. We're not on ESPN yet, but we have almost 10 listeners.
Hey, you ever heard Pat McAfee? He started somewhere.
Yeah, we're a fledgling operation, cool. But we're. So that's how it started. We're talking about that. I'm telling her about my experience as an A's fan, and we're talking about that. Then the plane's right engine malfunctions. We are about to go to the runway, and we pull back, and the pilot goes, "Yeah, this plane's kaput. Everybody's got to get off. Flight canceled." Like, sweet. I'm gonna miss the final A's game in Oakland. I get off the plane because I had enough Southwest points. I immediately got moved to the next flight and got a good seat. I'm like, thank God. I get to the Coliseum. My parents and my brother and my uncle were already there in the parking lot. They got us a space to tailgate. So I was there about 9:30. So 3 hours before first pitch. So I still got there, 3 hours before first pitch. I walk across the BART ramp there. I bought some merch. I got this cool shirt that says The Last Game and has like a bunch of, stuff on there about, the Coliseum and the A's. A lot of Raider fans there who wanted to say bye to the Coliseum as well. Walking across the ramp, I start to see hundreds and hundreds of like flags for tailgates. I see mariachi bands. I smell copious amounts of smoked meat and marijuana. That's how I know I'm at the Coliseum. I'm like, the Coliseum is hopping today, boys. I get over to where my parents and my uncle and my brother are. We have our little tailgate. We play some catch. We talk about all our memories there in Oakland. Everybody's starting to get emotional. I say, let's get into the stadium so we can, actually walk around the Coliseum one more time, get our giveaway item, whatever. So we get in there, sit down at the seats. We did not move for, essentially 3.5 hours. We had to watch the pregame. Pregame was awesome. They showed game 4 of the 72 World Series where the A's had a walk-off down 2-1 in the bottom of the ninth. My uncle's sitting next to me telling me how he was at the game, and he's like, watch, Angel Mangual's going to get a hit here, and the A's are going to pull it off. It was just really cool. Then you have the 2 best Oakland A's of all time, who were born and raised in Oakland, Dave Stewart and Ricky Henderson, throughout the first pitches. Super cool. Barry Zito comes out to sing the national anthem. I thought that was a good touch. His singing ability, we'll give that a 5 out of 10. Amazing national anthem, though. The flyover, dude, it was a freaking U2. When it's the A's, I expect it to be a fucking biplane that may or may not make it over the stadium. It was a U2. It was the loudest sound I've ever heard. It was just like a fucking gigantic bomber plane flying over the Coliseum. I was like, damn, this is what it would have been like if we ever made the World Series in my lifetime. Game starts, typical A's game, good pitching, sacrifice fly, bunt here, whatever. We scratched across 3 runs. We only gave up 2. Mason Miller, lights out, came in the 8th with 1 out, got 5 outs, including the final out at the Oakland Coliseum, 104-mile-an-hour fastball. And then I didn't want to leave, and neither did my family. We stayed for maybe an hour and 15 minutes after the game, and we didn't go down to the field and try to get some dirt. We didn't walk around to all the areas we used to sit in or all the areas of the Coliseum we used to visit all the time. We just stood at our seats kind of above the A's dugout and just stood there in stunned silence. We took some pictures, but for the most part, there was not a word said for an hour and 15 minutes. And on the way home, we all discussed it. Like, my dad, brother, and I are done with baseball. Like, that's it for us unless the A's come back to Oakland. My uncle will stay an A's fan and watch them in Sacramento next year. But
I want to see that conversation. Like, we're done, and then he's like,
yeah,
I'm not.
Yeah, he said he'll be a fan. Your
dad's brother.
Yeah, and he's
and that's why no one loved you.
You're like, why did he become a Vikings fan when everyone else was a Niner fan? Why did he have to bring me into this life? But I digress. So that was the talk.
They were cool about everyone. I kind of saw the video, just sitting there.
Yeah.
Like, usually they're like, all right, game over. Let's clear them out. Got to clear.
No, then the security did. Basically, there was, Kotze comes out and makes his speech, which was emotional and gets the crowd fired up. Max Schumann, who's just, the 26th man on the roster, utility infielder, takes that flag and runs and does a couple laps around the Coliseum. And, fans go crazy. I got a text from Jamie, who was watching at home on our MLB app, and they, for once, actually showed the postgame show. Usually with the MLB app, you only get until the end of the game, and then they cut it off. They left the postgame show up on there, and she showed me a picture, and it's Bip Roberts and Brody Brazil crying on the postgame show.
I saw that.
And I was just like, man, I cannot believe that this just happened. And frankly, because I still hold out a modicum of hope, I haven't really let it set in yet, but for that hour and 15 minutes that we just stood there after the game, looking at the Coliseum and thinking this is never going to happen again, man, it just hurt so bad. And I saw kids crying, I saw older people crying, I saw, all these old faces that you used to see at the Coliseum. Crazy George, who invented the wave, was there. Banjo Man was there. All those vendors, that we've known for years. The guy that says pizza, he was there. The freaking kettle corn guy that does the dance, whatever, he was there. Everyone was there, and it was just like, it felt like baseball nirvana, and then the biggest sadness you can possibly feel after the game. So it was just 14 out of 10 level emotion from everybody, and really, really tough.
Yeah, no, it's yeah. I don't know. It's weird. I saw the ninth inning. I don't even remember if I saw it live or if it was like when uh Comcast or NBC replayed it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Mason Miller just throwing straight gas, just like the crowd. I mean, it's like, why didn't there? I mean, that's the big question, isn't it? Why wasn't there more moments like that
Mm-hmm.
at the Coliseum? There's obviously like a million possible answers. There's,
The worst ownership in the history of sports for 20 seasons. That would be part of it. I saw this meme the other day that showed John Fisher photoshopped into like James Bond's suit, and it says, "They call me 007. 0 investment in the team, 0 championships, 7 failed stadium projects." That's our boy.
Yeah. Where were when you were like where did you mostly like look at?
Like when we were just
like you said you're just like remembering the
I mean they showed
were you like looking at the mound? Were you like I'm just curious like
you're just seeing this guy Clay Wood who does the A's field. The A's have always had the best field, and you just every time the stadium is a dump. The field was immaculate, and you see him out there. First thing after this, we're talking 30 minutes after the game where all the A's and all the coaches and everybody got off the field. At that point, it's just the grounds crew, and they're taking home plate out, which was being shipped to Cooperstown. They're taking the pitching rubber out and sending it to Cooperstown. They were taking all these other things from on the field that were requested. I think Bob Melvin requested something. I can't remember what it was, like a bullpen home plate or something. Ricky Henderson was out there grabbing a memento, whatever. You saw all this stuff and everybody's just talking about it. They're like, oh, look who's over there. Or, here's the A's pitching coach, Scott Emerson, came out to right field like 45 minutes after all the other A's had left. And he just goes out there and just starts waving and talking to the right field people. And you can see him crying and wiping his tears with the hood of his hoodie. And you're just like, this is just so surreal. And, we're standing there talking about, remember when Tejada hit that one up the middle for the 19th win of the win streak, and Ron Washington threw the ball into the crowd, and my dad caught it and gave it to my brother, and we have the ball from the 19th game of the win streak. Remember when we were there when, the A's, when Hamilton dropped the ball, one of maybe my favorite A's moment of all time. And that is what won us the game against Texas this time. Wyatt Langford dropped a routine pop-up, and the A's got a run and won the game. Like, it all just came full circle, and it was amazing. I'm so glad I did it, but
yeah, like you said, I don't know. Is it weird to me that I think the last place they're going is Vegas?
Utah is what we have to watch out for.
That's what I was saying. I was like, if I had to bet it right now, gun to my head, I think they're in Utah.
Because there will be a stadium in Utah. It may not
and I think Brody
major league quality, but there will be
on his YouTube. I saw Brody talking about it on his YouTube. He was like, what's a problem now for sports is like the cities that don't have teams are the cities that are more willing to publicly fund stadiums.
Yes.
Because that's what it takes to get teams.
Yeah.
When you already have one, you're like, I'm not paying more money for you to keep the team here when I've paid enough money going to game, all this stuff. But if you're a team like or a city like Utah, I think Portland, maybe like Nashville, if you don't have a baseball team, you're like, let's fund the stadium. And then we're ready.
Yeah.
Anytime you want one, we're ready.
I think the likelihood, by the way,
I think they're more likely to be in Oakland than Vegas, actually.
I agree. And I read an article this morning.
Because I think Vegas is actually betting on themselves. They're like, screw you, baseball. Like, you want us to give us a team? We don't want him.
And to illustrate that, this article this morning in Sports Illustrated has a guy who covers the A's, believe it or not, and he did this article where he's trying to connect the dots between all the news that's come out recently. So Buster only said in a tweet the other day that the A's were approaching a Frank McCourt level of problem, which is he was the Dodgers owner in 2011, where the league had to take him out and bring in the Magic Johnson group to save the Dodgers. That obviously encouraged me that maybe Latham could come in and buy the A's. The second thing that came out is there was a rumor.
How weird would it be if they were still like, yeah, that last game wasn't, we're just back here.
Oh, Please let that happen.
It's
The other thing that came up was there were rumors on a couple of Vegas-based Twitter accounts that Dave Cavell and Catherine Acker and a couple of the other A's employees met with the owners of the Rio Casino, which is across the freeway from the Strip, which would indicate that maybe their stadium deal at the Tropicana has gone under. The Rio, which is the worst hotel in Las Vegas, by far the worst, just an absolute shithole. They put out a statement saying, we did not meet with Oakland A's ownership. We have never met with Oakland A's ownership. That is how bad the A's are in Vegas, that the worst shithole fucking casino in Las Vegas is like, whoa. We are not involved with that crew of miscreants and losers. That's how bad it is. So I'm like, they ain't going to Vegas.
It's crazy. It is crazy. I wonder. Yeah. And Brody talked about this too. He's like, it's so similar to the Coyotes. Because they're like, oh, let's just buy time. Let's go play at this college hockey rink. And then eventually Bettman was like, no, you're done. And I wonder if they go to Sacramento in like a couple of years and it's like, if Manfred's got it in him, he just shows up and him and a bunch of guys in suits and just say, hey, man, you're done.
Yeah. I think it's very clear.
Again, just like the Coyotes, the only guy ready to go is Utah.
Yeah.
Or is it Portland? Or is it Nashville? Or is it Montreal?
Or is it Joe Lacob in Oakland, California? Probably not, but I still hold out a glimmer of hope. I just think
would he want one in Oakland
we were at that situation years ago that the Coyotes are in. I mean, this A's ownership group has done 4 stadium projects and just completely shanked all 4. At some point, the owners, if they were running a functional organization, would have said, you're out. Let's bring someone in who can get the job done. But no, it's not the NFL where they just get shit done and they run the world. It's MLB. They know their sport is dying.
What much do you think the A's would sell for?
So the Forbes valuation is $1.2 billion. Apparently, Fisher, in trying to get money for his Vegas stadium project, is saying that they're worth $2.5 billion with a new stadium. So he's trying to sell people shares in the A's at a $2.5 billion valuation, which is why no one is biting and no one has any interest locally in Vegas for that. So that's the whole root cause of the issue. But we're getting into the weeds here. Point is, last game in Oakland, very emotional. I really hope that there's some chance that we can stay, maybe not in 25, but maybe they come back in 26 after the Vegas thing falls through. Pretty crazy situation. I can't believe we've gotten to this point. But as I texted you and a lot of my friends on Sunday, maybe, just maybe, this Vikings season is God's way of repaying me for taking away my baseball team. Forever, let's go Oakland. That's been another episode of the You Like That Feels Great Baby podcast. We'll see you next week.